Good evening. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. I'm Robert McNeely. A little bit of a dreary day in Washington, D.C., and there's been a lot of storms really throughout the southeast, going east now. Just watching in one of my favorite cities, Atlanta, Georgia, lots of damage in the western part of the Peach State. So be careful out there. Heed those warnings. Listen to those meteorologists, because I actually drove through some of that this morning from the Florida Panhandle back to the friendliest village on the plains, of course, Auburn, Alabama, and there were some rough storms out there, so be careful over the next few days. Of course, that's the season for it. As we wrap up Irish American Heritage Month, my favorite month, President Trump expected to sign some executive orders at 5:30 or so Eastern Standard Time. So stick with us here at Right Side Broadcasting as we show all of that from the White House, but also what a big weekend for President Trump, just detailing a number of different initiatives. And of course, he is nonstop. Also golfing with the president of Finland over the weekend. And that's how he does some of his diplomacy, right on the links on the golf course where he enjoys being, especially down at Trump International in West Palm Beach, Florida, of course. A beautiful place, a beautiful course to be, not too far from Mar-a-Lago. And we'd like to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Of course, mypillow.com/RSBN. The spring sheet sale, those Giza Dream sheets and the Percale all coming from the Mediterranean, some of the most comfortable cotton in all of the world, and then brought right here to the United States, manufactured in Minnesota, where Mr. Mike Lindell and his team operate from, a great state, of course. The promo code RSBN, easy to remember. Call them today, 800-836-7566, mypillow.com/RSBN, with over 2,000 items available for you, all up to 50% off of everything. So the spring sheet sale going on right now. Giza Dream Sheets. These are incredibly comfortable. You'll sleep like a baby. Believe me, I've tried these before. They are quite nice. And the queen set going for $29.98. So that's quite a deal in this day and age, as we are, oh my goodness, 2 weeks away from tax day and still reeling from those 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden, Mr. Autopen himself, that brought us up to $36 trillion. So it's always good to have a deal around the corner. And you can do that at mypillow.com/RSBN. Save 50% off nearly 2,000 different items. So that's a great deal. Thank you to Mr. Mike Lindell for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And this week is a big week because tomorrow, if you are in Wisconsin, you got to get out there and vote for Brad Schimel. If you have not voted yet, this is a big Wisconsin race for the Supreme Court. Elon Musk wore that cheesehead in Green Bay, Wisconsin just yesterday in a primetime rally, stating that the entire destiny of humanity rests on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So each state has the opportunity to gerrymander or redraw their lines based on different systems. Sometimes that has to go through the state legislature. Ultimately, in many cases, a signature by the governor of that state. But the Supreme Court of Wisconsin has huge influence in the Badger State with the drawing of lines for congressional districts for different state house and state senate contests. So Elon was saying there, with such a slim majority, especially in the United States House of Representatives, how crucial it is to get Mr. Brad Schimel onto that, of course, Supreme Court. He's a former Wisconsin Attorney General. His opponent, President Trump, taking to Truth Social and stating she has been a puppet for the far left for a long time, being very lenient on certain cases, especially in regards to rape and child molestation. So you could not find two more different people with two different, incredibly different judicial philosophies. Of course, down in Florida, in the 1st District of the Panhandle, where Matt Gaetz used to hold that seat, Jimmy Patronis up for that beautiful seat. And also we have the 6th District happening there as well, with Randy Fine running for office in the 6th District. That is right around the St. Augustine area, the northeast part of the state. So that will be determined tomorrow as well. Also, municipal elections really throughout your country. I know from my former neck of the woods, the Chicago area, big races for city councils, for school boards, also for township races. If you're not familiar with that, township government, arguably the best form of government. Of course, Thomas Jefferson spoke highly of that, but you really see that more in New England, more throughout the Midwest, not as much in the southern and western states, but regardless, those races on the ballot tomorrow. So get out there and vote. Look to your county clerk or to those state websites, secretaries of state, to see what is on the ballot in your neck of the woods. Municipal elections, very important. They're actually the closest to you in the electorate. So get out there, hit the gas, keep going. And we know these races have been so important with Don Jr., Charlie Kirk showing up in the Badger State of Wisconsin. Also our friend Scott Pressler, who has been hunting down those ballots to get that turnout. And thank God for a guy like him working around the clock who really saved the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in turn, of course, our country last year in 2024 with all of the ballot chasing and getting those into the respective clerk's offices. So other news going around across the country today, not only that weather here in the United States, but you might have saw that very ugly, very sad Kansas black mass taking place, just at the end of last week with the satanic group that was allowed to be on the state ground capitol. There's debate over that. Is it freedom of speech? Is it something that is rather despicable to do? Regardless, we had some conflicts there. They were not allowed to come into the state house. They did that anyway. And if you're not familiar with that, this is when the host that Catholics believe and some other denominations that is the true body and blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Well, Satanists will desecrate that. And it's a terrible thing to witness and to watch. We had some brave souls step in and try to stop that from taking place. But again, the best way to handle all these situations, go to prayer, ask our Lord to really reform and change lives, because sadly some people think like this and they have sadness and hatred and darkness in their heart, and we hope for their conversion, especially here at a network that cares so much about the foundations of this country, of Christianity, and its role in this great nation, nearly 250 years young. Our prayers are also with Myanmar, a terrible earthquake taking the lives of nearly 1,600 or so people. We're seeing that there today. We'll have more details on that in the coming days. And also the late great actor Gene Hackman, his estate is trying to block the release of any records from his death just a couple weeks ago. We know that his wife also passed away from different circumstances. Also, his mother-in-law asking the court there, she does not want the body cam footage from the police officers when him and his wife were found to be released. And you can understand that with just their personal grieving taking place there. And finally, around the country, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, there's an abuse situation which DA Jack Stolzheimer is looking into. Apparently 20 students were being abused physically, mentally, emotionally by teachers in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and the Commonwealth there. So right on that state border of Delaware and Pennsylvania. We'll watch that closely, as well as we prepare for President Trump signing executive orders scheduled for 5:30 today. We also have some footage of him, his last public appearance with reporters. That was Friday on Air Force One, answering some of those questions. And we know that he is doing that regularly. We got to experience that. I had the privilege of asking the president a couple of questions during our trip over St. Patrick's Day weekend down to Palm Beach, Florida. And it's great to have your commander-in-chief come up with that notice from his press team that he'll actually be coming back to the press lounge and answering questions. How special is that? Usually you go up to the front of the plane in order for that to happen in his office, but that's the humility of this commander-in-chief and the open nature about it. Caroline Leavitt, our great White House press secretary, said that, her first press conference, saying that the greatest spokesperson for this White House is none other than the 47th Commander-in-Chief himself. And we've seen that on a regular basis. So he has the humility to come back and speak to reporters. He's an open book. That's where we talked about the auto pen situation. And if that video is ready, we can toss to that to see what's currently on the president's mind. Wonderful. We'll go there live now to recorded video from Friday. Of course, President Trump aboard Air Force One taking reporters' questions.
We're in the process of landing. I didn't realize it's quite late. Is everything good?
Yeah. Sir.
We have a lot of good things happening in our country. I hope you're enjoying the flight. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. President. Canada, sir, and after the call, you seem to be much more positive about Canada than you've been in the past.
No, I just think, I've always loved Canada, and we had a very good conversation. The Prime Minister, they've got an election going on, so we're going to meet after the election.
On the pharma tariffs, Mr. President, you've been talking about the pharma tariffs and what to expect there. Are you going to exempt life-saving medications, or what can we expect there?
Well, we'll be announcing it soon, but we have to bring pharmaceuticals, drugs and pharmaceuticals back into our country.
And what's the rate you're looking at? 15%,
We're looking at a
25%?
certain number that will be enough to get the drugs and the pharmaceutical companies bringing their product into our country.
And what
We never want to have to rely on other countries so that, like we did at COVID.
Sir, on the car tariffs and just the reciprocal tariffs, a lot of countries are making gestures, including Britain, which was talked about reducing
They want to make
digital
deals.
services. They want to make deals.
They do.
Are you in a mode, or
Well,
would
it's
you?
possible if we can get something for the deal. But, we've been taken advantage of for 40 years, maybe more. And it's just not going to happen anymore. But yeah, I'm certainly open to that.
Do you think
If we can do something where we get something for it.
Mr. President, do you plan to...
Would that happen before the tariffs are announced?
No, probably later.
Probably.
Mr. President, do you...
It's a process. Do it probably later. We're landing right now.
Mr. President, do you plan to take Greenland by force?
Does today's inflation report impact?
We're landing right now. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
We don't want to see you get hurt.
Have a good time.
Thank
Good
you,
luck,
Mr.
everybody.
President.
Good luck. Sit down. Everybody, hold on. There we go.
And of course, Wednesday is Reciprocal Tariff Day, Liberation Day 2.0, as President Trump has called it. It's really great to see that this is going to be a highlight of his administration, to really make it fair and level playing ground, whether it's the European Union or Canada, Mexico, in many situations, dear friends of ours. But we know that Japan and Korea, with their beautiful companies such as Toyota and Hyundai, pouring billions and billions of dollars into this country. So steel manufacturing, thousands of jobs, also car manufacturing, really leading the way here in the United States. If you've been following President Trump's True Social as well, very sad news for most, especially conservationists here in the country, but we do have his truth to post regarding that beautiful tree that was planted by President Andrew Jackson, the people's president. That southern magnolia will actually have to come down, sadly. So I saw this over the channels, and it's amazing to think about, with everything that President Trump has to deal with on a regular basis, people are criticizing that move. And of course, he doesn't want to take that down. This is something very special. This tree came from, or the beginnings of it, the Hermitage. Of course, it's Andrew Jackson's home in Nashville, Tennessee. A must-see, by the way. It's the most well-preserved presidential home, historical presidential home. Of course, the best preserved right now, Mar-a-Lago down in Florida, but this has 82% of the original contents, including the wallpaper, still in the building. So you are literally walking the footsteps of the 7th president of the United States, Andrew Jackson. But President Trump mentioning this on True Social, working together with a fantastic and very talented executive residence staff, along with the wonderful people at the National Park Service. We're making incredible enhancements, whether it's the Rose Garden, whether it's the removal of certain things that need to go. Sadly, as we know, we have great people on staff here actually who know a lot about forest management, and this is something that can actually harm the White House itself. So sadly, that will be replaced in the near future. And that's the kind of stuff you'll get from this president: transparency, comedy, and also working around the clock in order to make America great again. 107 executive orders signed in 67 days. It's a record. And a lot of this is pushing the culture in a direction of common sense, and also behooving Congress to address these issues, especially with such a narrow majority in the House. You know, sometimes these congressmen, they like to kick the can down the road, and they worry about re-election after re-election after re-election. That's why we had President Ronald Reagan, who wanted to get rid of the Department of Education. But of course, that can kicked all the way to now when President Trump said, let's get that going. Let's end the Department of Education, send it back to the states. And he is truly becoming the freedom president, the capitalist president, the libertarian president. As he mentioned during the Libertarian Convention last year, hey, all of you should endorse me because we agree on most everything. So why would we not go ahead and do that? President Trump also mentioning on True Social just yesterday, free enterprise, quoting Winston Churchill, socialism is the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of miseries. And President Ronald Reagan, of course, said socialism only works in two places, heaven where they don't need it and hell where they already have it. So President Trump, a culture warrior in his own right, an American icon, fighting on a daily basis for the greatness of this country. And speaking of rebuilding that greatness, one of the highlights of this country, sealing the border during this administration, something the last administration failed at doing. And President Bukele of El Salvador helping in that immensely. Producers, do we have a chance to play that video of the illegal aliens going to El Salvador? And as we wait on that possibly coming up for you, it's of great thank you to President Bukele from El Salvador, who's taken the worst of the worst. These people responsible for countless child-involved crimes such as murder, rape, the bondage, the terrible things that were happening to people in this country. We know the stories of Jocelyn Nungary. We know what happened to Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, the mom of 5. Just terrible what's happened with this preventable crime. But we had Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, down in El Salvador and Colombia dealing with this just the other week. But let's send it to that truth video that President Trump shared, showing just some of the worst of the worst going to El Salvador. And as President Trump says, these are the bad hombres. These are the worst of the worst. And this is probably the greatest achievement in roughly 70 days in the White House. 2+ months of dealing with the remnants of the Otto Penn presidency, where we know that he was not necessarily in control. This has been confirmed by people like House Speaker Mike Johnson, where Joe Biden met with him. It was several weeks into his speakership in late 2023. And the speaker thought he was getting a solo meeting in the Oval Office with then President Biden. Happened to be his entire staff. And then President Biden said, please leave, to the rest of his group, including then Vice President Kamala Harris. And he had a one-on-one conversation with Mike Johnson. And Speaker Johnson asked him about a number of different items that he signed into law, or even signed as memorandums. This is where you get the question about, was it an auto pen that took place, or was it actually his signature? Because he started arguing with the House Speaker saying, Mike, I didn't do that. And he said, sir, I can go out there and get that detail from your secretary. You did. And it's really quite frightening to see the cognitive decline that took place, thinking that this person had the nuclear football and the codes that could have started World War III. But thank God we know now today we have a president whose mind is sharp, whose mind is clear, and who is focused on saving the country, who has really put it all on the line with people like Elon Musk. You have to think about it for a second. These are self-made billionaires who have changed the lives of so many countless people, especially in Western civilization. And with Elon specifically, think about with SpaceX or Tesla, and then he has to deal with losing all of those shares from people literally burning the Tesla cars. They're attacking private property. And they have been warned the swiftest call to justice will happen, and it won't be lenient. As you see now, the Dow Jones Industrial are going up today, so we have a nice reaction on the stock market, and some of that rain is coming on down the White House at the moment, but it will make that Emerald Isle green even greener on the North Portico lawn. So always good to see that. But it has been an exciting roughly 70 or so days to my count of President Donald Trump back in the White House. If you joined us for that inaugural celebration, it's gotten a lot warmer since then, but wasn't it ornate under the beautiful Capitol Rotunda? It was gorgeous to see. It was wonderful to be there, and great to speak with all of you patriots watching on a regular basis. And thank you so much for doing that and for braving all of that cold. And that was really something that stuck out to me just 2 or so months ago, is that you did not get necessarily to see the president up front and close taking that oath of office, but so many said, you know what, we're here in Washington, D.C., we're with fellow patriots, and we feel like we have to be here to celebrate this man who has had the greatest political comeback perhaps since Grover Cleveland, because only 2 men have been able to achieve serving in the presidency in 2 non-consecutive terms. And similar in the sense, although different parties, they would have these big rallies. They would go out there to the people. They fought for the people. They fought for a populist agenda, and they stood against Republicans and Democrats in the breach who wanted to block their good ideas. And there is a lot of commonality between Grover Cleveland and Donald Trump. And it's an interesting history to read, something I was catching up on myself. So if you have a chance to do that, get any literature on Grover Cleveland. Of course, the Ohio Democrat who had big rallies all the way down to the Peach State in Atlanta, Georgia, Piedmont Park being a highlight as well, who was not successful, although you could argue that there was actual success with both of those re-elections, but of course coming back just as President Trump did. So we are getting close now. 5:22 on the East Coast. That makes it 2:22 on the West Coast and in that golden state of California as President Trump signs executive orders live at the White House, continuing on this agenda of making America strong again, making America safe again, making America wealthy again, making America healthy again, and ultimately making America great again. And we've seen some of that over the course of the last few days. President Trump traveling with Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Bobby on the campaign trail, really speaking highly of President Trump as they came together at that Turning Point Action event in Arizona with the fireworks, with everything that Charlie Kirk and his organization does, making it fun for young people and really everyone. And that endorsement really changing the whole ballgame for that race, because he was running as an independent up until that point, of course, leaving the Democrat Party, but realizing if President Trump and I come together on transparency, releasing the JFK files, among other things like the Crossfire Hurricane details from the FBI, and really focus on making America healthy again, getting rid of those red and blue dyes, and of course the work on Friday with Governor Patrick Morrisey. This is going to be a great test of the MAHA agenda in West Virginia. West Virginia, arguably one of the more unhealthy states in our union because of less productivity, less moving, just less engagement, generally speaking. Also with the heroin and horrible fentanyl overdoses that have taken place there in the last few years with an open border. But Governor Morrisey, very jovial, actually saying himself that the Secretary Kennedy will be his personal trainer. He's going to put him on an all-carnivore diet. He's going to walk 1 mile per day, lose up to 30 pounds really by this summer, and really be a shining example of a 4-part memorandum for the great state of West Virginia. So we'll be watching all of that and leading by example. Will be an exciting time to watch all of this transform the country. And even before this administration came into office, the red dye 3s being banned in things like over-the-counter drugs, also in cereals. It's scary to think that we've had poison in our food for so long. It's frightening that Europe would not buy our cattle or want to purchase some of our vegetables and fruits because of what was being used in the non-organic farming. So a scary thing to think about as we are now in 2025. You think that this would be fully transparent. You think that good, healthy, nutritious food would be affordable, but this administration working hard to change all that. And these things aren't Republican and Democrat. It's common sense. Everyone wants their kids to be raised in a healthy environment, physically, socially, mentally. We want school choice, which we are moving closer and closer to, not only with great legislation coming in many different forms throughout several different states in our great union, but of course, finally, the dismantling of the Department of Education beginning to happen, because states have been set aside to be the laboratories and experiments of democracy so that you can be closest to the people who are representing you. You can go right to your state rep and state senator. They might be your neighbor. Say, hey, this is what I think about this. Can we get this here? So we can have that natural competition between 50 different states and commonwealths to help make those decisions and make a stronger union. So we will celebrate all of that as we await President Trump to sign executive orders at the bottom of the hour here, almost 5:30. We'll take a quick commercial break. Stick with us here live at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we're on the right side of history. Be back with us on the other side of this commercial. We'll see you in a moment.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created a kids guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring the Kids Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and the Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live as President Trump signs executive orders momentarily, and lots going on in the news. We've had Kid Rock at the White House recently. We have Bill Maher, who's actually going to see President Trump at some point this week, perhaps on his podcast. That should be a very interesting meeting, maybe some harmony between those on the right and the left. Always with more dialogue, with more free speech comes more understanding, and that will be interesting to watch as well. But as today really is an interesting recap at 5:30 Eastern, so much going on at this White House nonstop. We actually have playback from the most recent MAGA Minute, and I implore you to really watch this from Caroline Levitt. In case you have a busy week, in case you have a lot going on at home, it's a great way to find out all of the successes on a weekly basis. This usually comes out on Friday. And our wonderful White House press secretary batting 1,000 against the fake news and those who want to create their own storylines. We've seen it all before with the lawfare and the Russia hoax, and really all of the nonsense that comes from a deep state bureaucracy and philosophy that is failing on a regular basis. But the MAGA Minute, a great go-to to finding out exactly just what's happening at your house, and that is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You see it right there as the sun is starting to shine once again. Blessings from God upon this beautiful people's house. And somewhere I implore you as well, please visit if you can this summer with friends and family, especially the young, tiny patriots in your lives, because it is quite a sight to see. But we will toss that now to Caroline Levitt with the MAGA Minute.
Hey guys, it's a beautiful day here at the White House, and it's been another great week. Let's go through all of the historic actions that President Trump took this week to help you, the American people. Companies like Hyundai, Rolls-Royce, and Schneider Electric announced billions of dollars in new investments into the United States to create jobs for hardworking Americans. The president signed a proclamation levying 25% tariffs on foreign automobile imports, encouraging companies to build vehicles right here in the United States of America. The White House recognized the bravery and service of Medal of Honor recipients in the White House on Medal of Honor Day. The president welcomed some of the country's strongest and most intelligent women to the White House to celebrate Women's History Month. And the president signed an executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful once again. And the Trump administration executed a very successful operation to apprehend a top MS-13 ringleader just 30 minutes outside of our nation's capital. Every day, because of this president, America is safer. We'll see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
There you have it from Caroline Levitt, the MAGA Minute. Big successes last week, especially the billions of dollars being poured into the United States from Hyundai. They want to really make this their manufacturing capital. So Louisiana really celebrating in that, Savannah, Georgia as well. New plants going into place. Of course, Governor Jeff Landry and House Speaker Mike Johnson and Leader Steve Scalise, all Louisianans, joining President Trump in the Roosevelt Room for that great announcement. So for steel manufacturing, for car manufacturing, for the thousands of jobs that will be created throughout the Southeast, music to our ears, as there's a lot of music going down in this part of the country with those Auburn Tigers in the Final Four. But President Trump has his own version of March Madness as we close out Irish American Heritage Month. And we'll toss that to the video of all the celebrations that he has had at the White House recently.
It's that time of year. The stakes are high.
Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change.
The pressure, unmatched. And only the strongest will rise to the top.
Americans have always been the people who defied all odds and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom.
Some will fold under the pressure, but champions thrive in the madness.
Our country will be woke no longer.
This isn't just any competition. This is March. This is madness. And in this house, every play counts.
Our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed.
There's no second chance, no timeouts.
Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation.
Only the drive to win. And when the buzzer sounds, history will remember who backed down and who stepped up.
America is back.
And whether it's the Kennedy Center with their new chairman, of course, President Donald Trump, and the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office, to NASCAR, I mean, think about that, leading the great line of incredible racers. I mean, this president going to the Super Bowl, he is a cultural icon. He is a culture warrior who will engage all different facets of the United States. And really, you could see it in his face, determined to save this country, and with the support of truly a united Republican Party. That was not really the case 8 years ago with then Speaker Paul Ryan, who agreed with President Trump on the tax cuts and with judicial appointments, but seemed to undermine him on a regular basis. Also, President Trump did not have ultimately the most loyal vice president. J.D. Vance was the greatest replacement to a deep state swamp creature known as Mike Pence. So thank God for that, as this millennial vice president has been there every step of the way to really shape and mold a culture in desperate need of reclaiming those timeless values that started nearly 250 years ago. But there's also other MAGA all-stars throughout the country, especially in the free state of Florida, which I had the privilege of visiting this past weekend. I love driving down there and you see the sign that says, "Welcome to the free state of Florida." And when you're leaving, before you hit the Sweet Home Alabama sign, which is lovely in its own right, don't be too long. Come back to the free state of Florida soon. So always good to see that from Governor Ron DeSantis as he's announcing his initiative to eliminate property taxes. If Florida wasn't already popular, the Sunshine State becoming more popular with the potential elimination of property taxes. And we can throw that to that announcement now.
I very much appreciate those folks in the House that set that $5 billion target. That'll be more than we've ever done by a country mile. And if that is something that's in the ball game, if that's something that they're willing to discuss, we'll accept that. But we'll come with a proposal to focus that $5 billion on reducing property taxes for people in Florida. And we have a chance. I know we want to get on the ballot, but we have a chance to do this year. So this would be kind of a opening salvo to what the main event would be in November of 2026. So with that $5 billion, I'm proposing that the legislature direct that to immediate relief for all Florida homestead owners. And if we do that, we would end up with about $1,000 in property tax cut for every homesteaded Floridian. And that will make a big, big difference.
An exciting announcement for the Homestead Act for homeowners throughout the Sunshine State. So I guess get your property there while you can, because my goodness, it is going to go like hotcakes. And as we look to 2026, tomorrow, make sure you get out there and vote, especially if you're in Wisconsin. Brad Scheimel for the Supreme Court that can literally redraw the lines of Congress and have a huge impact on the nation and its future. And as Elon Musk put it yesterday, wearing that cheesehead hat in Green Bay, Wisconsin, stating that this will shape the future of Western civilization. So get Brad Scheimel, the former Attorney General of Wisconsin, onto that Supreme Court, and you will end up defending a lot of federal policy as a result, because the Supreme Court has that jurisdiction over redrawing congressional lines. How about Florida, the first district, of course, the Panhandle? Jimmy Patronis running for that open seat left by Matt Gaetz, vacated there. And then, of course, in the 6th district, Randy Fine running to replace Michael Waltz, who is the National Security Advisor. That's the northeast part of the state. Big day of voting tomorrow. It is not necessarily April Fool's Day, but it'll be very foolish to have Democrats win those seats. So make sure you get out and vote Tuesday. That's tomorrow, April 1st. And look to your county Clerk and Secretary of State's office, so you know all the details there. But as we look to 2026, a huge announcement with Trump-endorsed candidate, of course it's Byron Donalds, the congressman from the Sunshine State of Florida, announcing in his hometown of Bonita Springs that he will run for governor, having that event on Friday. And we'll toss that to his comments right now.
My first event was 16 years ago, and I got to tell you, 16 years later, I never thought I would be here. I started in politics as an activist. I became a legislator fighting for school choice and protecting your constitutional rights. I went to Congress where I battled the Democrats on Capitol Hill and the radical media on their networks. Over the last 2 years, I was campaigning for the America First agenda because that's where the fight was. I knew Florida was red. Everybody knew Florida was red. You guys took care of that one. But I was all over the country in every battleground state because we had to win the most consequential presidential election of our lifetimes. So the fight took me to battleground states to make sure that Donald J. Trump became the 47th president of the United States. Along the way, President Trump and I developed a strong friendship. He watched me battle the left, take on all comers, and help him make America great again. President Trump has endorsed me to be the next governor of Florida. And he's endorsed me because he knows I will lead with courage, conviction, and common sense. And that's what our state needs to remain the blueprint for what is possible in America. As your next governor, I'll fix what's broken while building on what makes Florida the best state in America. To win this campaign, I'm asking for your vote. But more importantly, like Diane, I'm asking for your endorsement.
And we have that there from Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida, most likely to be the next governor of Florida. And he spoke so highly of Senator Rick Scott, who was, of course, governor prior to Mr. Ron DeSantis. So two governors really to stand on their shoulders, but more work to be done in order to continue making Florida truly the greatest and most free state in the United States of America. And we've seen that. People will vote with their feet. You might have heard the term, and they do that by moving. And we've seen such a huge influx of people throughout the Southeast United States because of good, well-run policies. But this is not something where you can just sit back and rest on your laurels because of a great 2024 campaign. If you look throughout the Southeast, we have major changes coming with many governors that are term limited. So this not only includes Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, but Governor Kay Ivey right here in Alabama, or Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia, also in South Carolina, Governor Henry McMaster, all term limited. So this whole region of the country, the Southeast, looking at new and upcoming leadership that will be right on the forefront of this battle, not only to make their states more free, but also to support President Trump in his mission to make this really a golden era for the United States. And we see all of that gold in the Oval Office. In a recent interview, President Trump really showcasing what he has done in there. Remember his first term, it was a bit more laid back. Every president gets a chance to design the Oval Office, but then he asked the question, don't we have things in the basement? So he chose the Reagan rug. I believe he chose George W. Bush's couches and then some of the drapes during the Clinton administration. Said those all go together. Those look nice. I got work to do. So he went right to that work. And now it looks like that's been somewhat repeated, but with the addition of roughly 20 presidential portraits and or really great Americans who left their mark. Of course, highlighted spots over the mantle, reserved traditionally for General George Washington, our first commander-in-chief and the father of the country. We know that the Auto-Pen president put FDR over the mantle, which was incredibly inappropriate. Another president did that in the past. That was Lyndon Baines Johnson, but they were really highlighting their mission of progressivism and seeing FDR as the leader of that movement and that change. Well, President Trump putting George Washington aptly and correctly above that Oval Office fireplace, as it should be. And of course, FDR is still in there as well. He was a consequential president, no doubt, and is right over that right-hand side of his exit off where his secretary sits. And it's funny as well, we caught a glimpse of that as you exit that door, or as the president exits that door, his mugshot from the lawfare from Fulton County, Georgia, on full display. So really a lot of decorating that has changed the look and the appeal of the Oval Office. Lots of gold, gold angels, in fact, as well, that go over the doors because he said they bring luck, they bring protection. And this is somewhere where faith has, that door has swung open again, whether it be for Muslim Americans, Jewish Americans, Christian Americans, Buddhist Americans, whatever you might believe. We know that this president has an open door policy when it comes to faith, with that faith office led by Paula White, the pastor. So good to see that as President Trump celebrating countless dinners last week as well, with Greek Independence Day, celebrating that with the Archbishop, His Eminence of America, handing him that beautiful cross as a gift, and thanking President Trump for keeping that door open to people of faith in this great country, because it's with faith that built this amazing nation. We know that to be true, and whether or not you happen to believe, you do know that this country founded on Judeo-Christian principles that have made such a difference for us in the course of 250 years of existence. So President Trump is aware of that, and I love the fact that he has the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office. It's not just sitting away in the archives, but now on full display. Of course, in the Oval Office, has to have that curtain over it, so he'll open it every once in a while to view it, but with artificial light, with natural light, it can do damage to such an old document. So they are protecting it there. Also, that FIFA World Cup trophy is in the Oval Office. This is in addition to Lewis and Clark's original manuscripts. So again, if you have the chance to go see the White House, to go on tour there, please do, because it is available to you, the American people. It is your home as much as it is the home of the Trump family. So go and view it, go and see it, just take it all in, because I've done the tour myself on a couple of occasions. I've been there during the working hours, and there's nothing quite like it to see your government in action. And especially look into that Oval, because as I mentioned before, the oak floor was replaced right before President Eisenhower's tenure. But he'd wear those steel cleats that were still legal on the golf course back when he was president in the 50s. So he would walk off the golf course, go back into the Oval Office, and those scuff marks are still there. So it's literally history carved into the ground. And they said, well, just replace the floors, so we might as well keep them there. So President Eisenhower not only leaving his mark on history, but literally leaving his footprints in the sand. Of course, the oak that ordains the beautiful Oval Office. And we love that for President Trump, as he's a big golf fan as well. Something that the presidents seem to share in common, especially in the modern presidency. But we're awaiting now, roughly getting close to that 6 o'clock hour on the East Coast at the White House, President Trump signing executive orders. We'll see what those details specifically and what he will be focused on now in this coming week. We do know that last week, while meeting with U.S. ambassadors, releasing the FBI files of Crossfire Hurricane, and we'll be reviewing those here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. We hope other journalists will be focused on that as well, because this will show in detail everything that happened in that fake investigation of President Trump. We know that Hillary Clinton spied on his campaign, and it's wrong. It's worse than Watergate. If you have a problem with what took place there in the 70s, you should probably have a problem with what took place in the last few years. We know the lawfare, we know the fake impeachments, we know the assassination attempts. This man and his family have endured so much, but truly they have the protection of God and angels surrounding them in this process, and he smiles every day, and we smile every day here at the network and really throughout the country, as one of our great correspondents who's on a regular basis, the Republican strategist, Katie Zachariah, says it is like Christmas every day with President Trump at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, because you know these complicated issues are being handled so well and so thoroughly. I mean, even last week as well with the ambassadors, streamlining the Department of Treasury. And of course, we're going to have Mr. Brandon Beach, a Georgia state lawmaker who was someone who really got the ire of both sides of the aisle while serving as state senator in Georgia, because he was someone who remained very loyal to President Trump through 2020, through everything that took place with what was the funny business in Georgia pertaining to that 2020 election. And we know how much of that has been just wrong in its own right. And of course, he also signed the EO, President Trump, last week to streamline our elections. We'll see how that affects things like motor voter, because of course, state and local governments have the purview of each and every election. It's in the Constitution, so we adhere to that. But we know that some of this motor voter and the ballot harvesting that took place, especially in California, all dates back to the Clinton administration, where people can get license rather automatically. So can actually skip steps and take loopholes in order to get that, and then it automatically registers them to vote, even if they're not a citizen of this country. So this Republican Congress, President Trump as well, working diligently to just answer that question. Are you a legal resident of this nation? Are you a citizen? If not, you should not have the right to vote. It's very simple. And then also working towards things like a national holiday on Election Day. How about paper ballots instead of these willy-nilly machines? I think that's a good idea. You know, France does that. Many other great Western countries do that as well. You just go in there, you grab that paper ballot after showing your ID, and then you walk in, you walk out, all is said and done, and you wait for the tabulations to be counted the night of. And then we don't have all this confusion over who is in charge. And so much more work to be done on that specifically, especially with the ranked choice voting, which is extremely confusing and can last an election weeks and weeks and weeks, wondering who is in that office. I actually saw that myself when I was up in Anchorage, Alaska, detailing as the city beat reporter. I watched this take place where both sides of the aisle in a very purple city such as Anchorage did not like ranked choice voting because it just delayed several different elections, and as a result, people didn't know who was going to represent them. So it was very frustrating. We talked to the elections chief there, and that was an interesting one. I'll post that on my social media, but an old interview. She did not want the cameras rolling as we interviewed, and I thought that's interesting because you were open to an interview. Of course, this was during the mask world and everything we know from what took place during 2020 and 2021. But if you like what you see here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, feel free to donate. We'd be very appreciative, as we're citizen journalists here at the network, providing commentary, opinion, and really the best in the biz when it comes to everything going on in President Trump's world, Vice President Vance's world, of course, your Congress, the 119th, diligently at work for you, the American people. Visit rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN. Very simple, RSBN to 801-801. Visit rsbnetwork.com/donate or text again RSBN to 801-801, as we're on the right side of history here at this live desk. If you're familiar with the last couple of months, we've transitioned from those rallies that we had during the campaign. Of course, you're familiar with the last decade when President Trump came down that escalator, and our great founder and chairperson of this wonderful organization, none other than Joe Seals, said, you know what, this is a cultural phenomenon happening. we should cover this. We should cover it correctly. We should talk to you, the American people, who had those massive lines, especially last year. I mean, how much fun was that? In the heat, in the cold, whatever it was, if it was raining, if it was sunshine, which it seemed as if we had a lot of sunshine, and it was always wonderful to see that. Getting to hear your stories and why you were moved by this MAGA movement to get involved in politics, to get there at the crack of dawn, to open up for whatever stadium it might have been, to enjoy seeing your favorite president, number 45 and 47, Donald John Trump, as he crisscrossed the United States in Trump Force One. It was the coolest campaign to be a part of, really, in all of history. I mean, I reflect upon it, and I just think to myself, wow, what an opportunity to be part of it, to be in places like Green Bay, Wisconsin, and see the vest come out and the garbage truck and just the humor and the brilliance of this president. Now, it looks like the in-town press pool entering that ornate Oval Office. Of course, you see there President Trump at the Resolute desk, and there is his buddy, Kid Rock. Let's toss it live there to see what he has to say regarding these executive orders. And I think we're waiting on the audio there, specifically with President Trump in the...
So it's an honor to have you back. A friend of mine, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. I know him as Bob, but he's been a good friend for a long time, many years, and he's been after something that is for the good of a lot of people, including, in particular, the public, and having to do with ticket sales and scalping and all of the gouging that you have been reading about. That's gotten worse and worse with time. And I didn't know too much about it, but I checked it out, and it is a big problem. And I thought, I think you've been trying to get this done for 20 years or something. He said Trump got it done in 2 weeks. But we came up with a very serious EO, and I'm going to sign it now, and maybe I'll ask you, Will, to explain a little bit about it, please.
Of course, sir. So this is an executive order, as you said, that deals with the ticket reselling business. For fans of live entertainment and for entertainers as well, the ticket reselling industry has become a huge issue. These people use bots and computer algorithms to buy up huge blocks of tickets and then jack up the price so that fans of live entertainers like Mr. Ritchie, I almost called him Mr. Rock, don't have access to concerts the way that they should. And when they do, it's at exorbitantly high prices. So what this executive order does, it charges the FTC and the Department of Justice with rigorously enforcing laws on the books in collaboration with state attorneys general that have power over consumer protection and other people who have the power to really crack down on this issue so that entertainers and fans won't be subject to these abusive and oftentimes illegal practices.
Good. Thank you very much. Bob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, anybody who's, it doesn't matter your politics. First off, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you put, I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen so quick. Anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows that it's a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for it, but more importantly, these bots. You know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400% or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, you know, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, you know, a hero to working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now, so hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen. I know a lot of artists and a lot of fans who love concerts and music are going to be very appreciative of you taking this
And I
action,
think
sir.
Bob is more interested in the fans and the people that are having to pay crazy prices than he is the artist. maybe the artist a little bit, but the fans a lot. I've spoken to them over the years about it, and it's been it bothers him. It bothers a lot of other artists too. You see,
does.
the artists, and they go out with $100 ticket and it sells for $2,000 the following night, and they seem to be able to sweep up the best locations too, which is pretty amazing. So
They've only enforced that box act one time, I believe.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago in New York City, I think we got a couple $1 million fine. And that's the only time they've enforced that act.
And who's the primary culprit? Who sells these tickets?
It's the scalpers. It's these bots go in and they're automated, so you're.
But is there a company involved? You might not want to
No,
say.
no. Well, there's reselling markets. Yeah.
I think I know, Peter. But that's all right. Don't get them involved. Maybe
What company do you think?
Maybe they're more innocent than we think. Huh?
Well, if you think of it, like if Ticketmaster sells a ticket, if you buy a ticket and go to a show, you're in a lot of ways their worst customer. Because they make another 17 whatever percentage every time that ticket resells. So they don't want to enforce the Bots Act necessarily because they're making more money off it. The artists don't see any of that money, but that's not what I'm advocating for, is for me to make more money. I want the fans to have fair ticket prices, be able to go and enjoy more shows. I know people that they decide on a family vacation or going to their favorite concert once a year rather than, my parents used to go see multiple shows when you could afford them back in their day. And I'd like to take my ticket prices lower, but if I set my ticket prices low, these bots immediately eat them up and they resell for hundreds of dollars more, and I'm just making these bad actors rich.
Well, I think this is a big step to getting it stopped. Do you have something, Brian?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually feel that the consumer is going to take the money that they've saved and actually buy merch, which you guys have a big percentage of, or do concessions, which you guys split with the venue on that as well. So I think their money
We don't
goes
share in
further.
concessions a lot.
No?
Those are, we try to, but they don't want to share it in the beer prices and parking or any of that stuff. But the bottom line is there's money for everyone to be made. There's plenty of money to go around. No one's going to really lose here. Ticketmaster, if we can get a cap, they're going to lose some money. But I've already talked to the CEO, Michael, and he's given me his word. He's on board for it.
I was talking to Jacoby with Papa Roach earlier, and by the way, he's a big fan of what you're doing, President Trump, digging into this whole scalping and the bots. A lot of musicians, and you can say that, they're with Kid Rock, sir, on this,
think so.
without a doubt.
A lot of people are.
President Trump,
Peter?
would you ever wear a jacket like that?
I don't know. I was thinking about doing it for tomorrow. We have a big event coming up, and I was thinking about doing it, but I'm not sure.
So you recently bought a Tesla for White House staff to use, but now there's all these domestic terrorists targeting Teslas. Are the staff scared to drive it?
I don't think so. I haven't heard. They were complaining. I did buy one, and I let the staff use it. We have it parked conveniently, and one day we give it to Margot, one day we give it to Chamberlain, give it to Natalie, we give it to everybody around. Give it to Dan Scavino, but he's got so much money it doesn't matter. But they love the car, and it's a great car, and it's made here. It's made in the country. He's got a tremendous plant now in Texas, and he has one in California. Does a lot of his work here, and he's been really unfairly treated, in my opinion.
I drive one.
And
Yeah.
there's this other story. I know it's hypothetical right now, but if you were allowed for some reason to run for a third term, is there a thought that the Democrats could try to run Barack Obama against you?
I'd love that.
For his third term?
Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that. No, people are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that. But I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years. Time is flying, but it's still close to 4 years, and we're getting a lot of credit for having done a great job in the first almost 100 days. And we have some big things we're going to be announcing over the next 2 days that you know very well, Peter, and I think it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of wealth back to our country, tremendous wealth back to our country, actually. And other countries are understanding it because they've been ripping us for 50 years, longer, but they've been ripping us off for years, right from the beginning. And I think this is going to be an amazing, I call it a lot of different names, but it's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country, because how we could have afforded to do what we did, we help everybody, and they don't help us. I really, the term I like best probably is the liberation of America. It's the liberation of this country, because It's incredible. Look, we have $36 trillion in debt for a reason, and that accumulates over a long period of time. So I think what you're going to be seeing over the next couple of days will be very inspiring to a lot of people. You know, they had a lot of auto plants being built in a certain country. I don't want to mention the country because we get along great with the country, but those plants aren't being built there anymore. They gave them up today and yesterday, day before, and they're building them all now in the United States. And we have many examples, not only auto plants, chip companies from Taiwan are coming in. The biggest, Mr. Wei, he's big. I said, you are a smart guy, aren't you? I've been reading about him over the years, but he controls a large portion of the chip business, as you know. You don't get smarter. They're going to be investing $200 or $300 billion. Apple's investing $500 billion. You know, they always built their places in China. Now he's building here. I think because of you speak to Tim Cook, because of the election, but maybe more importantly because of the tariffs. You know, he's got really an obligation to do it. But we have many, many companies that you haven't even heard of. But I think we'll be at $5 trillion very soon. And if you think about this, we've never been anywhere near that. I don't know if we've ever been at $1 trillion.
What do you mean by that?
We're 500. What do I mean by a trillion?
5 trillion. What are you referring to, sir?
I think that we're going to be at $5 trillion of investment. I think you're going to have investments very shortly. We're already 3.5, and we have commitments, verbal commitments for a lot more. And numbers like that have never been done in this country. And it's going to get harder. This is in 2 months. It's really in less than 2 months, because since we've really gone out with it. And we have other interesting things happening. But to me, the whole tariff situation, and essentially they've done that to us for many years. So if we're anywhere near $5 trillion in 2 months, this could be numbers like the country's never seen. And every time you hear a dollar spent, that's another job, because the jobs are coming with it. So auto plants, chip plants, pharmaceuticals, lumber coming in. We have things happening in this country. I'm not sure that they've ever seen it. Steel, you know, we have tariffs on steel. They've been here for a while. Steel and aluminum. Nobody's ever seen anything like we're witnessing now. Nobody's ever seen. I think most of you agree with that. I mean, it's nothing much you can't agree with. We have things happening in terms of jobs and investment, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. If you look at, let's say, $4 to $5 trillion in a period of a month and a half, that's even more than you do with your concerts, which are always sold out, right? Nobody's ever seen numbers. And think of it, where Apple's at $500 billion, as I said, but they always used to spend that money in China. Now they're spending it here. That means you're going to build. Now, they don't have any tariffs. Remember, there are no tariffs if you do your product here, if you build whatever it is in the USA. One of the things we're also trying to get is if you buy a car that was built in the USA, you get a deduction on interest. So if you go out and borrow money to buy a car, if it's built in the USA, never been done before, it's a big deduction for people that really aren't used to deductions, frankly, because people that buy cars like that are not big into the world of deductions, and now they're going to learn about deductions. So I think it's going to be great. Yeah.
President, are you going to move ahead with a universal tariff or different individual tariff rates on a whole variety of different?
Well, you're going to see in 2 days, which is maybe tomorrow night or probably Wednesday, you're going to see. And they're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us. And we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
Mr. President, you met with the chairman.
Somebody said that about me the other day. They said, who doesn't know me very well, they said, you're such a kind person. And I said, say that again. They said, you're a kind person. I said, I've never heard that before. It was a weird statement. I was kind.
Who said that?
I've heard of words that, I don't know, I better not tell you. You know, I've heard of I've been called a lot of things, but it's sort of a different kind of a word. It's like an old-fashioned word, isn't it?
Mr. President, you met with the chairman of Stellantis today. Did
Yes.
he ask you for a pause on the auto tariffs?
No.
What was that meeting about?
Just about some of the problems they have with the environmental, which we're going to clean up.
Have any of the automakers...
We're going to probably go back to 1920. If you look, we're going to go back probably to a 2020 standard. So we'll have 2020 standard, and that's just a few years ago. Oh, they're making it so difficult all over the world. They're making it. It doesn't mean a damn bit of difference even for the environment. It doesn't matter. They make it impossible for people to build cars. So we're going to be doing much different. 2020 is a strong standard, but they've taken it to a level now that makes it very difficult to build a car. So we're going to be bringing it back to a standard that is a very good environmental standard, but it makes it possible to build a car.
Have you heard any concerns from the automakers, though, about the tariffs on parts that will go into effect over the coming weeks, about what that's going to mean for the price of...
Well, I gave them a big break for a month. I didn't charge them anything, for a big month, for that first month, and they brought a lot of material into this country because they could bring it in without tariff. If you look at Canada and Mexico, they were driving hundreds of thousands of cars into the market because they avoid the tariffs by doing it before the tariffs go on, which would be Wednesday. And I saw some of your shows where cars are lined up for miles and miles. Some of them didn't have fenders on them. Some of them didn't have the roof on yet. They're driving it here brand new. They're driving it in because they want to avoid the tariffs. I let them have that. They sort of took advantage of it because, that wasn't part of the deal, but that's okay. They're great American car companies, and so I gave them a little break on that. Yeah.
Are there any countries that you're not targeting on Wednesday?
Well, it depends. I said it's reciprocal. Not everybody has made a fortune, but almost everybody has, but not everybody. And the ones that haven't, we're going to be very nice to them.
And on a separate issue...
Because that word reciprocal is very important. What they do to us, we do to them. Okay.
Can I just ask you briefly on President Putin? You said over the weekend, or indicated over the weekend, some frustration with him. How serious are you about imposing oil sanctions on Russia?
I want to see him make a deal so that we stop Russian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers and other people from being killed. But mostly it's Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. They're losing at least 2,500 human beings, beautiful human beings, a week. And I wanted to stop. And some people would say, why do you worry about Russian soldiers or Ukrainian soldiers? I worry because they're just like you people. They're like us. They're like all of us. And I seem to have an ability to do those things. And if I can do that, I think it's a very worthwhile thing to do. And I think we will. And no, I want to make sure that he follows through, and I think he will. I don't want to go secondary tariffs on his oil, but I think, it's something I would do if I thought he wasn't doing the job. I did it with Venezuela, secondary tariffs, and you know what happened? Every boat left the harbor. Did you see that? It was a beautiful thing to see. The whole harbor emptied out. My words weren't even finished, and I have these massive ships. They're actually taking the hoses and dumping them into there. They couldn't get out of there fast enough because they know I don't play games. So I think he's going to live up to what he told me, and I think he's going to fulfill his part of the deal. Now, then you have Zelensky, and hopefully he's going to live up. I see he's trying to renegotiate the rare earth. We did something because, as you know, the Europeans get paid back the money that they gave, and we don't, because Biden is an incompetent president. And he should have asked for rare earth, or he should have asked for the loans to be guaranteed in some form. That's what Europe did. Europe is in for probably $100 billion. And we're in for $350 billion. So we're in for more than 3 times. And now you could make it a little bit less than that, but it doesn't matter, whatever the number. We're in for substantially more than Europe. We could be in for $350 billion. They have no idea because Biden wasn't a good bookkeeper except for himself. And what happens is we made a deal for rare earth. It was all done. And I heard through you, I haven't spoken to them yet, but through you I heard that they're now saying, well, I'll only do that deal if we get into NATO or something to that effect. Well, that was never, number one, discussed. Number two, I think it's going to be long before Putin, they said you're not going into NATO. And It could be. That's probably the reason the war started, actually.
We're hours away from a very special election. Wisconsin, Florida. I want to share your thoughts on Republican voters to not sleep on this. These are two very important races you got.
Well, it's a big race, Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. It's taking place essentially as it was early voting, and so we'll see what happens. It's a big race. I love Wisconsin. We won Wisconsin. Republicans typically don't do very well in Wisconsin, but I did. I actually won it twice. I actually probably won it 3 times, to be exact.
We played their side.
Not probably. I won it 3 times. We had a rigged election the second time, but that's, one of those things. We had to make this one too big to rig. Would you agree with that, Brian?
Yes,
too big
sir.
to rig?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, but there's a big race, and I hope you get out and vote for the Republican. The woman is a radical left lunatic, and let's see who wins. But the woman will be very bad, and Wisconsin's a big state politically, and the Supreme Court has a lot to do with elections in Wisconsin. So if whoever it is that's running, including even Senate races, etc., but whoever it is in 4 years that runs, having Wisconsin is a very big. We won it early and big, but winning Wisconsin's a big deal. So therefore, the Supreme Court choice that is the one you're talking about right now. It's a big race. It's going to be announced fairly shortly.
President Trump, on TikTok, big week of deadlines. You got Liberation Day and the TikTok deadline.
Yeah,
this
we
week.
do, which I can extend if I want, but we have a lot of enthusiasm for TikTok, for buying it. I think TikTok is good. I used it I was a great TikTok guy, and we won by 36 points, the youth. We won the youth, which Republicans don't do. Maybe it's because Kid Rock likes Trump. I don't know, but we won the youth by 36 points, and I attribute some of that to TikTok.
Is the TikTok deal, the negotiations now, tied to a bigger tariff deal with China?
No, but it could be. I mean, I've used tariffs for lots of different reasons, but I could see, 1 point in tariffs with China, a big country, would be probably worth more than all of TikTok, as valuable as TikTok is. It's big stuff. So there's a great example. That's a great question, actually. I'm a very flexible person. I could use that for that. Like, maybe I'll take a couple of points off if I get approvals for something. I haven't done it. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But it's a very good question. Peter, you're very good.
Thank you. You'll love this one.
Go ahead.
It's not front page news, but I am just curious. What is your thought about Tiger Woods now becoming part of the broader Trump family?
Well, I love Tiger, and I love Vanessa, and they had a great relationship. I happen to think the relationship with my son, I happen to think the relationship was hurt very badly by the witch hunt that went on, Russia, and all the crap that they put Don through, who knew nothing about it. But Vanessa and Don had a very good relationship. They have incredible children, 5 incredible children, all good athletes, all great students. They're like great. And they broke up, quite a while ago, and which was to me very sad because I think they're both great, Don and Vanessa. And Tiger actually called me a few months ago, and you have a very special, very good relationship with Tiger. I played golf with him a couple of times over the last month, and he's a fantastic guy and a fantastic athlete. And he told me about it, and I said, Tiger, that's good. That's good. I'm very happy for both. I just let them both be happy. Let them both be happy. They're both great.
To follow up on China, China, South Korea, and Japan say they're going to work together in cooperation to respond to the tariffs that you're going to put into effect this week. Are you concerned that this move of the tariffs this week could push some of the United States' closest allies to work with China?
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
Mr. President, can I ask
I
about
think
something?
they have a chance of doing better, actually, with the tariffs. It can actually help them in a certain way. And I think a lot of them will drop their tariffs because, they've been unfairly tariffing the United States for years. And if you look at the European Union on cars, the European Union already dropped their tariff down to 2.5%. It was announced a couple of days ago, which is what which is a very small tariff. The United States charged very little. And I think I heard that India just a little while ago is going to be dropping its tariffs very substantially. And I said, why didn't somebody do this a long time ago? A lot of countries are going to be dropping their tariffs.
That's what happened in France today, Mr. President. Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader, got convicted in court and is now banned from running for office for 5 years. Do you have a comment on that?
That's a big deal. That's a very big deal. I know all about it, and a lot of people thought she wasn't going to be convicted of anything, and I don't know if it means conviction, but she was banned for running for 5 years, and she's the leading candidate. That sounds like this country. That sounds very much like this country. Okay, anybody else?
You've been presented with a bunch of proposals for tariffs by your advisors. They've been talking about that idea publicly.
And who?
That your advisors have presented ideas
They
to you
do.
about tariffs and what to do in the next 2 days. Have you settled
Well,
on
you're
any-
going to see, I've settled, actually a long time ago. But we talk about it. We talk about it a lot. We want to do what's right for the country and even the world. It affects the world, not just this country. This has been the piggy bank for the entire world. So it really does affect the world, and that's important to me also. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. President, in the past you have said that you want the quick return of Austin Tice, a Marine Corps veteran and a journalist who went missing in Syria over 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Have efforts been made to locate Austin Tice been extended beyond Syria, including potential leads in Iran? And do you have plans to get in touch with Ms. Deborah Tice, the mother of Austin Tice? And also at the same time, organizations like Hostage Aid Worldwide have been on the ground in Syria searching for Austin Tice for many years. Can I get your comment on the future, potential future plans to locate Austin Tice and to bring him home finally?
So we've been looking, as you know, for Austin for years. I don't know about Biden. I don't think Biden was looking for anything, but we were. And there's been virtually no sign, you know that. There's been no sign of Austin. An incredible young guy. Be less young now. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been many, many years. The mother is fantastic. She's a very committed mother that her whole life is to find her son, who was in Syria and just disappeared off the face of the earth. So, a lot of bad things happen. But we're always... we will never, until we find out something definitive, one way or the other, we'll never stop looking for him. But we have been, and the response, it's just a lot of dead ends. He's been gone for a long time. The problem is there's never been a sighting. Sometimes you'll have somebody you're looking for him, and there's a sighting. There's never been a sighting of Austin, but we are out there, and we have great respect for his family and for his mother. She's been unbelievable. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, a question about...
No, behind you.
Apologies.
Yes, you've had outreach with the leaders of Russia and China. You've made an outreach to Iran. When are you going to plan to reach out to North Korea and Kim Jong-un? Anytime in the near future?
Well, I do. I have a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un. Now, you people hate to hear that, but it's very important. I got along with him fantastically, as you know. It started off very rough, very nasty. Little Rocket Man, the whole thing was a nasty deal. And then one day we got a call that they'd like to meet. We met. We have a great relationship. And, we have, there is communication, yeah. I think it's very important. He's a big nuclear nation, and he's a very smart guy. I got to know him very well. You remember I put my foot across the line, and then I walked across the line. I don't know if Secret Service was thrilled with that. They actually wasn't. They were not too thrilled. But I have a very good relationship with him. Yeah, we'll probably do something at some point. Yeah, please, Jeff.
Who's on your short list, Mr. President, to replace Elise Stefanik as U.S. Ambassador to the UN?
So we have a lot of good people that want it. First of all, Elise is fantastic, and I just don't want to take chances where you guys saying, how is the election going? We have a congressional election that's a little bit close. I guess the one is in good shape, but the other one's a little bit close. But Randy Fine is a great guy. They're both good candidates. They're very good. But it's, a little bit, we want to be careful. And Elise is very popular in her district, and so am I. We won by a lot of points, and so did she. And there's a lot of people that wanted to run for it, but we have no idea, are they going to win? I think it's just security. And I said, Elise, what about going back? Because they love you there, and she's going to take a big leadership position with Mike Johnson and the group, the speaker. And I can tell you that for the replacement, we have a lot of people that have asked about it and would like to do it. David Friedman, Rick Grinnell, and maybe 30 other people. Everyone loves that position. That's a star-making position. And so we'll see what happens. But we have a lot of people that are interested in going to the United Nations, as you can imagine. Yeah.
So we get a quick music question. Favorite song to play live is what? And then my question for you, Mr. President, your favorite rally you did last year, 2024. What was your favorite one?
Favorite song to play live?
Yeah, favorite song to play live.
Oh, that's a tough one. It'd have to be one of the hits, probably Cowboy or Ball with the Bar. There's a song that I've played every night that was never a singular hit that I probably should not say the words to in this office right now.
And then for you, Mr.
You never met a certain person
by the way,
like
his
me.
rallies are amazing. He does great and gets big crowds. He's really a star when it comes to that. He is a very talented guy. I would say maybe Madison Square Garden, because anybody that was there, the owner of the garden, Jim Dolan, who's, to me, always been terrific. He said he's never seen anything like it. We had, when you announce Madison Square Garden, it's a big arena, but we sell out big arenas. We sold out in Milwaukee. We sold out at every big arena. We never had empty seats. It's amazing. They talk about Bernie Sanders gets 2,000 to 3,000 people. Everyone said, these crowds, I get 107,000 people in New Jersey. In Butler, PA, we had over 100,000 the second time. We had 55,000 the first time. We have big crowds. I would say Madison Square Garden, because I grew up in New York and the garden is great. Jim Dolan treated us well, but everybody said because I think I could have filled it up 10 times. We had hundreds of thousands of people that were stacked all the way back to the Hudson River and on the other direction, back to Fifth Avenue. Nobody's ever said, I don't mean with a line, I mean like 50 deep, this way. The streets were closed, the whole thing, it was crazy. And when you take that, you want to do well at Madison Square Garden. You don't want to have empty seats. But we could have sold it out, Brian, 10 times, and everybody knew it. And I think we got a good indication that that's where the election was going. And we won every swing state, and we won by millions of votes. It was a great election, yeah.
Mr. President, the U.S. military transferred 17 individuals to El Salvador overnight. Did you discuss with your team whether these deportations would run afoul of any recent court orders?
No, I do want to thank, however, the president. He has been unbelievable and, in relation to us. But I think that our people have done an incredible job. I got elected on the basis of getting bad people out of our country that shouldn't be here, very dangerous people out of our country. And that's what I did. And then you have a judge that wants to take over. And I can't imagine it can be allowed. If it was up to him, they'd all be put back in our country. These are killers. These are drug lords. These are really bad people. But I want to thank the president of El Salvador because he's done an amazing job. You saw it. Yeah.
Elon Musk's special government tenure is coming to an end, 130 days, I think another month.
Yeah.
Do you want him to stay longer, or is it time for him to go back to running his companies in your
Well, I think he's amazing, but I also think he's got a big company to run. And so at some point he's going to be going back. He wants to.
Would you want to keep him around?
But I'd keep him as long as I could keep him. He's a very talented guy. I love very smart people. And he's very smart. And he's done a good job. Doge has, we found numbers that nobody can even believe, like 400 billion, 500 billion. It could be close to $1 trillion by the time they end on different things. And he's led the charge. And you've seen a lot of his people. And these are people that joined up. I would say the high IQ people. I like high IQ people. And they've done a great job. No, at some point, Elon's going to want to go back to his company. I will say he's got, despite the way he's been treated, so he's an American patriot, but the way he's been treated with Tesla is just terrible. It's just terrible. In fact, you have a Tesla. And you love it. You love it. He was saying before he bought a Tesla, he loved it. A lot of people are buying Teslas, I think, and I hope they are. He should not be treated that way. He's done an incredible service to our country.
But once he goes back, is Doge going to keep operating even without Elon here?
Well, I can't tell you that. I can say this, that a lot of the people that are working with Doge are the secretaries, the heads of the various agencies, and they've learned a lot, and they're dealing with the Doge people. I think some of them may try and keep the Doge people with them, but, at a certain point, I think it will end. But they have also gotten a big education, and they're doing a really good job. There'll be a point at which the secretaries will be able to do this work and do it very, as we say, with the scalpel. And that's what we want. Yeah, Jeff?
Mr. President, have you had any updates on the U.S. soldiers missing in Lithuania?
I have.
Can you give us an update?
So 3 are no longer with us, and 1 is unfortunately probably in the same category, but they haven't declared that yet. It was a very heavy truck, like a toy, but really heavy, that lifted the heaviest equipment. And it would seem that the bank of a lake collapsed. The weight is so big. And it was at night, and it was very cold weather, and ice, a lot of ice. And it's possibly slipped, and the weight is so enormous of this thing. It's a massively heavy vehicle. And if they slipped a little bit, that's probably what happened, and it flipped. And 3 are gone, and 1 is missing.
On a separate topic, follow up on immigration. Did you see the video of the Tufts University student who was taken off the street by ICE agents last week in hoodies and masks? There's been a lot of criticism of that. Are you comfortable with how that was handled?
Well, I haven't really looked at it in any detail, but I will. I have seen it quickly, but not. I wouldn't want to comment on it. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, would you be able to confirm recent reporting that you are making plans to go to Saudi Arabia next month? And if so, why is Saudi Arabia so important?
So, I have a very good relationship with the Middle East. In fact, if you look at Michigan, I won the vote by a lot. People were a little surprised. And I have a very good relationship with Mohammed and the king. His son is Mohammed. He's great. Crown Prince, actually, he's Prime Minister, too. He's got a lot of good titles. But he's great. And the king has been wonderful. And if you remember, last time I went to Saudi Arabia, I put him first on the list because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of American goods, military and otherwise. And they did. And it was an unbelievable day. It was in this gorgeous ballroom, and companies were there from many, probably 100 companies. And they were given anywhere from $40 or $50 million to less. And more, actually. Okay, some of them were given numbers that were just many times that amount. I think we had a couple of $20 billion deals and big stuff. And it's a very rich country because of oil. And we are a very rich country ultimately when we straighten it out because of oil. Oil is always good. And I agreed to do it again, and they've agreed to spend close to $1 trillion of money in our American companies, which to me means jobs. So they're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars giving them to American companies that are going to be making equipment for Saudi Arabia and other places in the Middle East. And for that, I think it's worth it. I did it last time, $450 billion, and the press was there. It was one of the most unique days I've ever seen, where companies would get up and you're getting $20 billion. They named the company. The chairmen were all there, every chairman and top person in the company. You remember that, Peter? I don't know if you were there. You might be too young for that.
I was on the Democratic campaign trail at the time.
That was boring. This was a much better deal. But it was amazing, actually. It was an amazing day. We sold and we partook in $450 billion worth of investment into American companies. And they announced the company, the amount of money, $1 billion, $5 billion, $25 billion. And the chairman of the company, many of whom, well-known figures, prestigious figures, great business leaders, they went up, they shook the hand of somebody, and they would sit down, and we just had a big investment made. So It was a record. Nobody ever beat it before. $450 billion worth of jobs. I view it as jobs more than anything else. And now we're close to $1 trillion. So it's more than double the number that we did when I first came to office.
And this trip takes place next month.
It could be next month, maybe a little bit later, yeah. And we're going to Qatar also. And also we're going to possibly a couple of other countries. UAE is very important. It's a great leader in UAE. And I had his brother here the other night, if you saw that. We had a wonderful guy, a wonderful family. So we'll probably stop at UAE and Qatar, and as I used to call it, Qatar. Nobody's ever told me right or wrong. I always like to say Qatar, but it's Qatar. They like to say Qatar. And Saudi Arabia, the three of them, and then we'll go other places also. But in the Middle East, those seem to be the three. And again, tremendous amounts of jobs will be created in those 2 or 3 days. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Headed out that door right there. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Wait.
Well, that was good. Okay, ready, everybody? Now, you better do well with this. He's going to do it. Make sure everything is nice and clean, right, for your
Make
industry.
America fun
Because
again.
you're not in a clean industry. Hold that up. Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Headed out this way. Thanks, everybody.
And of course, we have President Trump signing an executive order to protect those from places like Ticketmaster and other companies that really bloat that price of the different concerts that you can go to. So Kid Rock speaking in support of that. Of course, his real name is Bob Ritchie. He's been a huge supporter of President Trump. Fun to see him in the Oval Office. But what you have there is bots or other people who will buy up all these tickets and then really inflate the prices. And like Kid Rock said, a lot of musicians don't have control over that. So he wants, good working class people who love his music to come be able to see the show and not have to choose between seeing a show versus, say, a family vacation that year. So that's really cool to see him in the Oval Office today in a celebratory mood and outfit along with President Trump. I'd like to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, Colonial Metals Group. This is a great group to scan and shield your savings now. Free goldguide.com/RSBN. We know that gold has gone up 7,000% since 1971 when the Nixon administration went off the gold standard. So scan that now to shield your savings. Colonial Metals Group, the great Paul Stone, the CEO, really sharing with us how to be the best hedge and bet against inflation. That's with gold and silver. So go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN for all your options. And thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. The spring sheet sale for you today. Get those queen sheets, $29.98. The Giza Dream sheets, the Percale as well available. Save 50% at mypillow.com/RSBN with over 2,000 options in-house. You get up to 50% off of everything. So a great deal at mypillow.com. Thank you to Mike Lindell, the great patriot, fighter for free speech and fighter for election integrity, doing his part to bring you a great, different, and really unique product that's made right here in America. And Mr. Director, was there another one you'd like us to cover? Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us here today at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. If you caught Mr. Matthew Alvarez this morning, and of course our primetime coverage tonight of executive orders being signed and some great questions from the in-town pool on a various different amount of topics. It sounds like President Trump will have his first foreign trip to Saudi Arabia, also to negotiate and speak with the UAE, along with other Middle Eastern countries. Of course, the Saudi Arabians being so hospitable with those continued talks with Russia and Ukraine and the United States. Of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, along with Steve Witkoff, really putting on many, many miles. It'll be great to see President Trump on some of those first international trips. But if there's breaking news, we'll be right here with you at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And if not, have a wonderful evening, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. So have a great Monday evening, March 31st, the end of Irish American Heritage Month and, of course, Women's History Month, as President Trump has celebrated both ecstatically. And we look forward to a great April. And tomorrow, remember, if you're in Wisconsin and Florida, especially, go out and vote. For everyone here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, I'm Robert McNeely. Good night. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created a Kids Guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring The Kids Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and The Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.